Let's come to order. I want to thank everybody for coming to our Monday, September 26, 2016 work session. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes in their packages from the September 12th meeting. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Next, review of memorandum of warrants for period of September 3rd, 2016 through September 21, 2016. Ms. McDuffie.
Yes, Chairman, the memorandum of warrants for the period stated is $930,802.61.
Thank you, Ms. McDuffie. Any questions for the administrator? Under old business, Sheriff Franklin, he has three items: FY17 911 dispatch agreement, dispatch service agreement with the City of Wetumpka and Town of Eclectic, and the Quality Correctional Health Care contract renewal. Sheriff.
I think y'all should have a copy of the dispatch agreements with Eclectic, Wetumpka, and the 911. If y'all got any questions you'd like to ask, I think I'll give you an update. I tentatively gave the mayor of Eclectic a copy of what I was going to try to present to y'all to see if we would need to make any changes. Chief Robert Head called me back and said the mayor had informed him that it looked good. They were good to go with it, and in fact, if the county commission approved it, I told them that I would get in touch with Lynn Justice. It's my understanding that Lynn said if in fact this is approved, that the land lines and everything they've got to get that are going to be cost incumbent for the City of Eclectic and Wetumpka, he'll start working on immediately. He didn't want to do anything until we got approval. But I have talked with the mayor and I've talked with the chief there in Wetumpka. We have not got a tentative date to start or anything. We're talking about, well, y'all don't want to get into the long story, but with their dispatch, we were trying to interview some of their people and vet their people. But we've already done that and finished doing that with Eclectic. As you can tell, the proposal calls for 3 people there in Eclectic, 3 additional people. But as for the 911 contract, I think it calls for, I believe, $2,000 extra a month on top of what the additional, on the initial call, well, the initial funds that are coming in to the commission right now on the contract. It's an additional $2,000 a month.
And that's to cover their portion
yes,
of this?
Yes.
Okay. And have you and Grace, have y'all had an opportunity to discuss the quality contract
yes,
and come to some kind of resolution?
Talked to Warden Henline on that. We all agree that we think as far as the best economic, I won't say boom, but as far as monetary, the 4-year versus the 3-year. If every other year, I think in year 1 and year 3, they're talking about going up 2%, and I feel like that's in the long term going to be a better deal for Elmore County than it would be just signing a 3-year. With it going up, I think it was 3%. You're talking about 1 more %, but you're getting a whole another year. And I not being able to foresee what's going to happen, I can't tell you how many inmates we'll have at that time, but I do really like the idea of locking them in for 4 years. I think that's huge. And they can't go up any more than just 2% in year 1 and year 3. Right now, we're about 175. We've got 242 at full capacity. We've been at 288 on the high end. But with this Truth in Sentencing Act that we got, I don't expect it to balloon up and down like it has been. But I think overall, I believe financially it's going to be more sound for the Elmore County Commission to go for the 4-year deal and just go for the 2% raise in year 1 and year 3.
Ms. McDuffie, you have anything you want to comment on that?
I would just like to say, like the sheriff said, we had discussed it, and I would recommend the 4-year deal. It's 2% increase every other year, so it'll be the 1st and 3rd year will be flat. The 2nd and 4th year, we would see a 2% increase on the current amount. Yeah.
So it's basically, this averages out a 1% a year increase in the, which healthcare costs are not.
Yeah, I had it backwards. It's going to be 2% in year 2 and year 4. She's right. Year 1 and year 3 are flat. They won't go up.
That's right.
And to reiterate, y'all are very satisfied with the service you're getting from them.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all there. They're very hands-on. The doc comes in once a week. If we've got any, medicinal, weird, I would say, cases that we've got with people, they're real good about letting us call them and them trying to handle that one-on-one individually. No problem at all. As far as, litigation-wise, also a smart litigation move, letting them handle things like they have been, as opposed to letting us do it.
I understand. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? All right. Yes, appreciate it. Next, discuss Ridge Improvement District Board appointments due October 11, 2016. Candidate is Steve Forehand. Consider E911 Board appointments 3, due October 11, 2016. Candidates Larry Brown, Steve Dennis, and Art Faulkner. Next.
Mr. Chairman, if you will, on that, on those E911 board appointments, do you know right off which district these appointments are representing?
Well, I know that, Steve Dennis is out of District 2. Is Art Faulkner, he's in District 4. And Larry Brown is also in District 4. I think he's an at-large. He's an at-large.
At large?
Yeah.
District 4?
He's not in a district.
Just,
Right, at-large member, yes,
okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Next, discuss FY17 budget. We had a lengthy meeting last time with the budget, and we had given the administrator some instructions about amending the budget with a raise. And does any commissioners have any other additions or deletions to the budget that they want to discuss at this time?
I do, Chairman, please. The Tallahassee IDB Board had requested $50,000 for a 400 foot extension to bring the road to Gulf State Packaging, which will be increasing with 15 new jobs there on the addition to the road to the industrial park, or the lower industrial park on Highway 229. On that is what they had requested.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if Commissioner Taylor's for some questions, isn't this the same access? What's the name of the grant? It's industrial access grant. That there's industrial access grant committee, and actually, I think a proposal was made in the neighborhood of like $250,000 or $280,000 by the Tallahassee IDB for this road construction. They were denied. Of course, it's, you know, not because they've done anything wrong, but just because there's limited funds in the Industrial Access Grant Fund. But it seems to me that once that happened, and I think the number was right at $250,000, then all of a sudden it went to a lot smaller number, and that they went to the City Council in Tallahassee, they being the IDD board, and asked for funding, and said something like, if y'all give us $50,000, we'll get the county to give us $50,000. Is that some kind of...
No, it's not the same project.
Okay.
It's, that project was going directly behind the building. This will be going to the access the rest of the industrial park itself. The old one was the one that went behind it and was going parallel with 229. This one will be going straight back. It's just 400-foot access to give access to the buildings that they're building for Gulf States Packaging.
Mr. Chairman, then in other words, monies have been asked by the City Council, or there's been a request by the IDD board.
They have been approved.
For how much?
I think it's $42,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, so this is not the same.
It's not the same project. This is a totally different project. This project will be accessing back. I mean, it can come back and be amended.
Well, what what I'd suggest is, instead of us just blindly entering into the, budget now, can they come to the next meeting and present us the information about this?
Sure, they can.
And then we can amend the budget at that time if the commission wishes to add that in?
That can
Because
be.
I have no idea what this
Well,
project is.
it was kinda left out, didn't get all the information myself, but I just wanted to put that on there to where they could, come and present this.
Can you contact Rick Dorley
Yeah, I
and make
will.
sure he
I
gets
will.
on the next
Rick
agenda?
is already aware of it.
Okay, all right, no problem. Any other, comments or additions or deletions to the budget?
Mr. Chairman, there's one, if I looked at everything right, there's just one comment I'd like to make, and I just want to just challenge, maybe, just throw out an idea. This commission, along with municipalities and the county, of course, has supported, and in the Tri-County area, has supported Central Alabama Regional Planning, because in the way they're set up as a quasi-governmental entity, so therefore they basically request dues, and how they come up with those dues is basically set by the board of directors and those kind of things. There has been problems with that organization. There's been internal problems ever since I've been on the city council in Millbrook, which dates back to 1993. On and off, there's been issues with that organization. But from time to time, they've been able to, by having resources that they only really have been able to help us with different kind of grants. And I think I noticed that they were just zeroed out. And I think, and just to give a little bit of history, I think we go back 3 or 4 years, the leadership came to me and wanted to increase dues that we're paying, and I basically told them at that point and spoke for the commission that, you know, they'd be lucky to get anything out of us, and what we ended up doing is basically cutting in half the dues when they increased dues for every other participatory government entity that they collect dues from. I thought then it would get their attention. I do though question, should we just absolutely zero them out? I think we gave them, was it $21,000 last year? And I just wonder if we gave them something, $7,500, $5,500, I think that would give us a little bit of a hook in case there is that situation that arises in the next year, that we could actually ask them to participate in a grant or help us formulate a grant idea. That's just all. I just think it would be good to give them some kind of token sum as opposed to zero.
Okay. Any other comments about the, yes?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment to what Commissioner Fott was saying. I think the way Carp Deck work in terms of their, whatever we give them, it's by way of dues. So I don't know if we give them a token, if that's really going to help, because I think the dues, if I'm not mistaken, is the amount that, of the 21 that they got last year, or is it 31,000?
It's 31 this year.
31,000. So if that's their dues amount, then, and we just give a token of, say, like what you suggested, 7,500. I don't know how that works out when your dues are 31,000 and we just give you 7,500. Like, would we be then getting from them a portion of $7,500 worth of services, or would then they want us to come back and pay the full dues amount? Because generally your dues are what they are. And you may not be able to answer that question. I'm just.
I think I can. As a matter of fact, I think our dues have been $31,000 all along, and we agreed to pay $21,000. So we have been giving them a token.
Yeah. Well,
not really a token, but more than a token, of course. But I mean, it's just up to the commission. If it's, you know, zero is zero. I do know that there are certain situations of which they are a resource to us, and to whatever that number is, and if it's zero, and we can live without them. Like I said, it's an organization that's been plagued. I think they're doing a lot better now as far as their internal workings and as far as their audits are concerned and those kind of things. But it's just something I'd want to throw out there.
Well, I do have a comment myself about the Carp Deck I've been on the commission now almost 8 years, and when I first got on the commission, we did have some good experiences with them when Sarah Bard was there and Bill Tucker. Bill was an Elmore County resident, was very active in trying to help Elmore County succeed. I haven't seen a lot out of Carp Deck in the last couple of years since Sarah left and Bill passed away. And I really feel like that Carp Deck needs to come to the next commission, who are going to be seated in November, and plead their case to them and ask for the appropriation at that time, rather than us giving a token and then the next commission, they may want to fund them completely, or they may want a zero. I don't know. But I think that we need, my opinion and my recommendation would be to leave it at zero and let them come back in November or December and request, sell their services to the next commission. That would be my recommendation.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I certainly would not argue with that at all.
Well, so let's just see a show of hands. We're going to leave it at zero. Okay, no problem. Any other questions or comments to the budget? I do want to say that I do appreciate Ms. McDuffie and the hard work that her and her staff have put into doing the budget. And I know that the first few years I was here, and Commissioner Falk can attest to it, we were scrambling until the last day of the month trying to get a budget together. And so I do appreciate, it is nice to be able to do a budget and then get it passed without a lot of fanfare, and I do appreciate it. All right, unless there's any other comments, new business, Senator Clyde Chambliss, November 8, 2016 ballot amendment. Senator, I appreciate you coming, and it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and I appreciate you allowing me to take a few minutes of your time here tonight. I can take a little bit or I can take a lot, and I'm guessing that the preference is probably a little bit. So I'll do that and then leave some information with you that you can read at your leisure. Before I get started into the main meat of my topic, is I wanted to just let you know that I appreciate being able to represent you and Elmore County in the Alabama Senate. I enjoy it. Some people look at me a little cross-eyed when I say that. But those of you who serve, and the sheriff behind me and others that are here, if you don't enjoy it, you don't need to be there. And it certainly comes with its challenges. It certainly comes with its ups and downs. But when you're able to put together a successful project, I'm thinking of the EMA building right now and the county engineer's office, those type things, it is rewarding, and you all know that, and it's very interesting. People ask me, is it very similar to the county commission or a lot different? And it is very similar. You deal with roads and bridges, you deal with the sheriff, law enforcement, the jails, DHR, mental health, health department, all those things that we still deal with at the state. The only difference that I would really see is Medicaid, and it is a big difference. And it's one that's really hard to get our hands around. I had planned on coming between or after our first session and before our first special, and just give you an update on that first special. But my schedule and all, I just couldn't get it worked out. So because that's old news, I won't rehash all that. But if anybody has any questions later, I'll answer those. We did have a special session recently, and you all probably know all that's happened there, and I can answer any questions there. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was the upcoming election. We have 14 statewide constitutional amendments, and I'll hand these out as I leave, that'll be on the ballot this time. Some of them very important, some of them that will affect you and the way that you operate here at the County Commission. And I won't go over every one of them in detail, but 4 of those are local constitutional amendments, and I have them grayed out on my sheet here. I typically would not vote in favor or opposition to another county and what they're trying to do, and I think most of you understand how that typically works. If it doesn't affect Elmore County, then I wouldn't really be involved. We'd let them handle it. Those are, Etowah County has one, Pickens County has one, Calhoun County, and Baldwin County. But the other ones, several very important. One is the Auburn University Board of Trustees. It's adjusting some of the terms on their board. They had a mass changeover this past time, and this will limit, having to have so many go out at one time, and it will add 2 at-large members to their board, and that is to enhance diversity on the board. So that's a pretty big issue. The amendment number 2 was really big. In the past, I'm still talking county, the state has transferred monies away from state parks to balance the budget. And this amendment, and that was a big deal last year, this amendment would prohibit that transfer. Therefore, if monies were collected in the state park, they would be used in the state park. That's pretty popular among the people that I've talked to. Number 3 is a procedure for adoption of local constitutional amendments. This may affect you all in the future. Currently, if one legislator votes in opposition to local legislation, then it has to go statewide on the ballot. This constitutional amendment will amend that and change it. So what we would do is we would vote on the issue, and then once the issue is decided, then we would have a resolution that says that should be statewide or not. So I can be opposed to an issue and vote against it, but not make it go statewide if we change it. I support doing that. I think it's a good way to do it, a better way to do it. Amendment number 4 is also dealing with county commissions to allow you all certain authorities. Essentially, some of these authorities you've been given recently, but this amendment would would not require it to go to a vote of the people every single time. Statewide 5. Right now, our Constitution has 2 different sections that deal with separation of powers, the 3 branches. This would simply combine those and to clean up some old language, and I would support that. Number 6 deals with impeachment. Right now, our impeachment rules in the state are very, very vague. As a matter of fact, it doesn't say what the vote has to be from the legislature for an impeachment. This would correct that. And it would, by the way, it would make it a 2/3 vote of the legislature for impeachment. Number 8 is very important to economic development in our state, dealing with the right to work. As you all know, we're a right to work state now. This would put right to work in our Constitution. And the reason that's important is when we're recruiting, some of the businesses, potential prospects say, yeah, you're a right to work, but that can be changed at any time by the legislature. If it's in the Constitution, it would be harder to change. Number 11 would permit cities and counties to utilize tax increment district revenues collected within major 21 first century manufacturing zone. Essentially, this is taking power and moving it to the local level. And from my background in local government, I think that's a good thing. You all are closer to the people than I am in Montgomery, and I typically support those type things. 2 more. Amendment 13 is to repeal any age restriction on the appointment or service of an elected official, with the exception of the judiciary. The bill couldn't pass with the judiciary in there, so the sponsor pulled it out, and so there's several different ones, but county commissioners are not age limited, but a lot of boards and agencies are age limited, and this would remove that. And the last one is very, very important to county government, and this deals with the budget isolation resolution. As you all know, we're required to deal with our budget before we deal with anything else in the legislature. We are able to isolate that. It's called a budget isolation resolution with a 3/5 vote of either for each body. The House adopted rules back in, I believe it was 1984 when this passed, and they said that it was 3/5 of those members present and voting. Well, the Constitution says 3/5 of the membership. So from 1984 till now, the House has been passing constitutional amendments with 3/5 of those voting. And a circuit court has ruled that unconstitutional, or is in the process of ruling that unconstitutional. And this would go and it would ratify and validate, approve those that have occurred in the past according to the rules of the House that they were in. But it will not change the 3/5 of the membership requirement going forward. So it's kind of a restart and say, okay, we messed up, but we're going to say all those are okay. In Elmore County, you have 11 bills that this would affect, and I won't go through all of them line by line, but I have them here, and I'm sure that you've all seen them from the County Commissions Association as well. So anyway, that's more time than I wanted to take, but I wanted to just come and let you know that these are on the ballot. They're very important. Some, especially the last one there, we really need to pass, in my opinion. If we don't, I would suspect that we'll have to have a special session just for local bills. It's going to be that big of a deal. And there's some 600 across the state. Anyway, with that, I'll end my remarks. If anybody has a question, I'd be glad to answer that. If not, then I'll hand these out and then make my way.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Senator?
Just one. Hey, how you doing, Senator?
Great.
On number 3 that you mentioned, I think you say you were in support of that one. I just had a quick question about it, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And it just basically wanted you to tell us how will that help the process?
Right now, let's say you have a local bill in Elmore County and something that's very, very important to you. And, well, we can talk about, we had the one with the sheriff, but that wasn't a constitutional amendment. But let's just say we had one that's very, very important to you and that we wanted to get passed. And the week before, I had voted against Senator Hawley's bill on XYZ, and Senator Hawley's really mad at me. Well, Senator Hawley could vote against my bill, which would make your bill go statewide. With the amended procedure, he could still vote against my bill, but it would be less likely that he could make it go statewide. It just makes it a little bit easier for local control of local issues. Thank you, Senator. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment. I would like to compliment Senator Chambliss. He's a guest on a local radio show from time to time that discuss legislative issues. I'm guessing that he spends wee hours in the night reading all the different kind of bills. Very articulate. A lot of the bills that I hadn't understood, I've understood them by just listening to interviews of him and radio, and I appreciate the time that he spent. I also appreciate the time that he spends in Elmore County and how he's made things in Elmore County important to his district, and they are very important, and I just want to compliment him on that. Also, I'd like to say thank you for bringing these amendments to us tonight and being willing to describe them to us and let us know what's going on so that we can hopefully do the same for our constituents and inform them as you've informed us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate the kind words. It's very important to me, if I'm going to do the job, to be here, be around, be available, and certainly anytime there's anything that you or staff or anybody needs or that I can help with, please give me a call.
All right. I do have one comment, and I do appreciate you coming tonight and sharing this information. I want to say I appreciate your dedication to Elmore County. Elmore County has not had a senator that I can recall that actually lived in the county. And, so it's been very refreshing that you have, shown the concern for Elmore County that you have, and I do appreciate that. And I just want to ask you, if you get your crystal ball out and kind of look, I know that there's, with the special session, and I've tried to keep up with it the best I can and read the emails from ACCA and all that, but it just seems to me that the legislature is continuing just to put Band-Aids on problems, and at some point there's not going to be any money to go to, like the BP money or something, to plug a hole. What do you see is the future of the way that state government is funded, and also how would that affect the locals?
I greatly appreciate that question because it is spot on. I have pushed a couple of things, and I'll try not to be too long because I can talk on this for quite a while. My first session, I go in and I'm trying to be a good and respectable freshman and not go out too far and but I'd had a couple ideas. I'm on the General Fund Budget Committee, and yeah, that's a good idea, but it's a little early in the session. Let's wait toward the end of the session and then we'll take those up. So I'm okay. So we get toward the end of the session, I bring those ideas up again. Oh, it's too late. We don't have time for that. Well, that infuriated me because that's not good government. That's not the way that we should do business. So I pressed really, really hard between my first year and my second year, and we ended up having budget hearings, much like you do, before we went into session. The first year we had some token budget hearings, but I had committee meetings at the same time we had budget hearings. That's useless. So we went into our second year knowing more about the budget on day one than I knew at the end of 3 sessions the year before. So that's progress. We actually approved the budgets early in the session. We didn't wait till the very end, midnight hour. And when you get into that posture, your options are limited. So that was better. But we still have issues. Our major issue in this state is the growth in Medicaid. Now, you all know, and I know people that are very, very in need of Medicaid and deserve to have those of us who can take care of them. But we're at about 1.1 million people on Medicaid now, and we can't continue to go the direction that we're going. Last year we appropriated $700 million for Medicaid, and that's out of 1.8 general fund budget. And that 1.8 includes law enforcement, sheriff, and all the things that we do in state government. And I'm getting too long on your question. So this year, since the end of the session, I really pressed Senate leadership. We've got to do more. We've got to look ahead. We've got to. So we have created a joint task force on budget and fiscal reform. That task force is a combination of 7 House members and 7 senators. So there's 14 of us. The pro tem has appointed me to that task force. It appears Wednesday that when we go in that I will be selected Senate co-chair of that task force to do exactly what you're talking about. We've got about an 18-month, 24-month window because of the BP money, and after that we have some really, really serious problems coming in this state, more serious than what we've seen in the past. In one scenario, a $300 million problem. Again, our budget's 1.8. Serious. So we're going to start, and we're going to really, really press that issue between now and that next session. We'll meet on Wednesday and then once a month thereafter, and we're going to press that very issue. We've got to fix this, because if we don't, there's going to be some really, really difficulties that will spill over onto the local level. And having come from the local side, I don't want that to happen.
It's, yeah, I understand that, and I appreciate that, but we've already, encountered that. We've had, requests to fund state positions in our county because of the services, they were considered, very needed, and, it's just, I feel like at some point, some of this stuff is gonna get pushed back to the local level because the state just don't have the money. And that's just gonna create chaos for the locals because that stuff was not, in our wheelhouse to fund, and all of a sudden now you're gonna have these items to fund. So I applaud you and I appreciate you serving in that capacity, and I hope that at some point in the near future the state can get some kind of resolution to their budgets.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask him
Thank
one
you.
question as it relates to the task force? In those ideas, is an idea being considered to merge the budgets from the general fund budget and the educational budget, knowing that there's so many things in the educational budget that's really not related to education, but because it's kind of been a hobby horse for over the years for people to get budgeted in the education budget and kind of battle the two budgets instead of making them agree with one another. So is there a move about to merge those budgets?
There is discussion, there's continuous discussion about that. Here's the problem, and here's why it hasn't happened and why I don't think it will happen in the near future. If we merge the budgets, then Medicaid and prisons to a lesser degree will consume and eat education dollars. So that's probably not going to happen until we fix our Medicaid problem. That's just the way I see it. I could be wrong about that, but it's very, very polarizing issue, and we need to solve our problems on the general fund side, and then we can consider that. But until we do, I don't think it could happen or would happen.
I have a question. Senator Chambliss, is there any other long-term funding besides the lottery bill, besides the BP bailout, as we're calling it? Is there any other long-term funding besides the lottery on the agenda for that?
We've considered, as you recall, the governor's first proposal. We've considered the $700 million or so that he proposed in new taxes. That didn't go. We did a little bit, but not a lot. That I don't think is going to go anywhere. The lottery, it did not pass. I don't expect it will pass. Transferring money from education, that's not going to happen, in my opinion. So we've got to really back up or get a little bit higher altitude and look at everything. There's two things in particular that this task force is going to look at. One is there's $3.6 billion. Remember I said the general fund budget's $1.8 billion. There's $3.6 billion that are outside of the general fund for general fund agencies. Now you all can understand that. You have control over the 1.8. You have control over the general fund. But imagine in your seats if you had over twice that much that was going to county government that you had no say, no control over. We're going to look at those. Some of those are statutory, some of those are constitutional. A lot of them are very, very good. Maybe all of them are very good, and maybe we won't change any of them, but we're going to look at them. And the second thing that we're going to look at is right now the tax exemptions and deductions are worth $5.5 billion. Again, 1.8 is our general fund. Now, some of that's education, some of it's general fund. And a lot of people want to jump on that. We need to do away with those, but you got to be careful what you ask for, because each one of you and myself take advantage of those deductions, like the FICA deduction, like the home mortgage deduction, like if you're retired, you don't pay state income taxes on those. So all those add up, and then there are also business deductions, which are a much, much smaller piece of that pie. So we're going to look at those. Are those good deductions? I think so, but in the situation we're in, we've got to look at them. I don't know exactly what we'll do. Will we, find 3 or 4 of them that we can, take care of that will give us that long-term revenue or, but anyway, they're all on the table and we're going to look at them in detail.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I thank you. If there's no other comments, I do appreciate you coming and sharing and look forward to seeing what happens.
Well, it is very interesting. You all know that in politics, it's always interesting, and we're gonna get in there and fight and just work and try to see what we can do to figure something out. And what I'm really pleased about is we're 18 to 24 months ahead of it, and we're talking about it this Wednesday. That is what the big deal is, and that's what I'm very appreciative of Senate and House leadership. And our new House leadership is on board, and I see really good things. House members, Senate members are talking directly under the new leadership, and that's a good thing. So anyway, thank you all for allowing me time, and I apologize I went as long as I did, but I can stand here for quite a while and answer those questions because they're very good questions, and unfortunately, if we don't correct them, they will affect you. So we're going to keep working on it. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If I can digress for 1 second on the budget, there was one item that had come up in the past. Is, as y'all know, the last quarter of the year, or the first quarter of the new budget year, from October to December, the cash flow for the county is very tight because our ad valorem is our main funding source, and it doesn't come in until after the first of the year. And on some of these outside agency requests, I'm requesting that we consider limiting their appropriations to a quarterly basis if they're over $20,000. And I think we have several. We got the Extension Office and several other agencies that get more than a $20,000 appropriation. I'm not saying not giving the money. I'm just saying, for the sake of preserving cash flow for the first quarter of the year, to allow these agencies to pull the money out quarterly. Is there any objections to that? Okay. If you'll note that also. All right. Discuss a letter of continued support for Old Sandtown School. This is the letter that CarpDeck requested last week. I think everybody's had an opportunity to review it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, consider FY16 budget amendment for principal interest on 2015 bond issue. Ms. McDuffie, you have a comment?
Yeah, just a short comment on that particular one. As you recall, last summer when I was doing the budget, we had not got the final numbers on our 2015 bond issue, and so what this amendment does is it reflects the actual principal and interest that was paid and the final documents that we obtained in October of 2015. So it's just an adjustment from estimated to actual.
It's not a very large difference.
About 10,000.
10,000 total.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any discussion? Next, FY17 detention contract with Department of Youth Services for 1 detention bed. This is, I believe, the annual contract that we have with DYS.
Yes, sir, and the next one, I believe, is annual contract also.
And the next one was for the County of Montgomery for 2 detention beds for
That's right.
Youth.
And then you notice it's $85 per night for an additional bed. So sometimes we have more than 3 down there.
All right. Any questions or comments? These are just our annual contracts with them. Next, consider FY17 diversion grant contract with Department of Youth Services, and I think that's
It is.
it's part of what we were just discussing. Next, discuss FY17 holiday schedule through November 15. You have the list. Is there any questions? I believe the new commission, when they come in, will set the rest of the holiday schedule for the year. Next, consider FY17 meeting dates through next month. Again, the new commission will come in and set the commission meeting dates for the rest of the year. Discuss modified service contract with Johnson Controls to include the EOC with the jail judicial complex HVAC system servicing. Mr. Bauer, do you have a comment on this?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. The contract was actually a 3-year contract that y'all approved last year. With the energy savings project going in, a lot of the controls for the jail and judicial are being changed over to match up with a new monitoring system. So there was a need to take that and remove that out of Johnson Controls contract. In addition, the EOC came out of its 1-year warranty period, and this contract will pick that system up and continue it for the same additional 2 years that are left on the initial 3-year contract. It roughly is about a $3,000 increase over what was approved last year, and we're just asking for y'all to give me approval to execute that.
Any questions? Next, consider FY16 EMPG Cooperative Grant Agreement. Mr. Jones, do you have a comment on this?
Yes, gentlemen. This is our grant agreement through State EMA that we receive federal funding each year as a reimbursement for a portion of our operational budget, our operational expenditures. This year we received $40,741 on that, and that's what this particular agreement is. It's the same standard agreement that we get annually.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Next, discuss FY16 additional EMPG funding for Certified Local Emergency Manager Certification Cooperative Grant Agreement. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Chairman, this agreement is for the Certified Local Emergency Manager certification that the office complies with, and we got an additional $12,000 that can be used towards special project funding, and we were wanting to put that funding into some upgrades with some map display equipment in the EOC along with some communications equipment. And this is, like I said, it's additional funding that we receive for having a certified local emergency manager meeting the state statute.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions? I appreciate you going after this additional funding from the state. Under the consent docket, approve the travel memorandum and approve eliminating 1 full-time sheriff civil process server position. This is in conjunction with the reorganization of the dispatch. And all right, is any one of these items that any commissioner wishes to pull out for separate consideration? Under personnel notification, notification of resignation of Nathan Bowen, correction officer, effective 9/16/16. Notification of hire of Hugh Prater, I believe I say, correction officer, replace N. Bowen, effective 9/19/16. Notification of termination of Ashton Brooke Ross, dispatch, effective 9/15/16. Notification of resignation of Daryl Threadgill, equipment operator 3, effective 9/15/16. Notification of resignation of Peyton Haney, correction officer, effective 9/16/16. And those are our personnel notifications for this meeting. Next, reports to the commission. County Administrator, Ms. McDuffie, do you have a report?
I do not, but I will be more than happy to answer any questions, Chairman.
Any questions for the Administrator? Next, Highway Department. Mr. Bauer, do you have a report?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in front of you, you got a spreadsheet and a map and another little document that is a proposal from Advanced Disposal. We met about a week ago and talked through the county-wide cleanup days. We've been implementing the odd months, 10 sites and 2 sites every even month, and they've come back with a proposal. I think I've talked to each one of you about that and a possible addendum. If y'all will just take that information and review it with the tonnage reports to where we could have a discussion in one of the 2 October meetings to see if there's any changes we can make to not only accommodate the request of Advance, but I think it also would actually expand the service in general by moving to 6 sites every month, along with what I'm calling a potential mini transfer station. So if y'all will look at that, I would appreciate that. The ESCO, or the Energy Savings Company, is slated to start this week in this building on the energy upgrades. Most all that will be done at night to not affect the operations of the courthouse. Y'all can see that the annex project is moving along, especially if you're out on the Hill Street side. You can see that the entrance into the basement is ongoing. I expect foundation work to be finished shortly, and then we'll start seeing some stuff go vertical at the building. Hurd Road and the bridge replacement there is progressing well. We're still anticipating early 2017 opening on that project. And our last A-Trip project, Greer Road, is I'd say is a little shy of halfway done. They're working on the leveling course right now, but that project is moving along well. Do y'all have any questions of me?
Any questions for Mr. Bauer?
Just, I just want to mention something to Mr. Bauer. We talked about this countywide cleanup earlier, and I see that the area in my district is pretty dismal in terms of performance, and we had spoke about possibly looking at the old Sandtown School area, but they've not had it there, is this correct, since 2014?
Yes, ma'am. They had it there, I think around the time that the school was being cleaned up, if I'm not mistaken. That was the request.
Okay. So if you would, on for District 5, what we had initially spoke about, can we go ahead and perhaps look at something that, like perhaps in the Casada area, which would still put something in District 5, but it would not, the people in Millbrook would not be that far from Casada if they wanted to participate, and also the individuals in the Elmore area would not be that far from Casada. And Crenshaw Park, I mean, it's far down the line in terms of participation of what it's doing, so I'm fine with us moving that. I just wanted to let you know that since Sandtown has not had it since 2014, and even when they did, it doesn't look like the tonnage was,
yes, ma'am.
It was also dismal. But if we can look at the Casada area perhaps, and then we can pull those two municipalities, the town of Elmore and then the city of Millbrook, for participation purposes, I think that'll be probably a better suited area for my District 5 constituents on that end of the county. And hopefully we can get better participation that way.
I will engage the town and see if there's
And
any,
see if they got a place for
if
it.
there's any if they would like to be a participant in that. We need to make sure of that first.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Bauer? EMA, Eric Jones, do you have a comment?
Just a quick report, Chairman. I've got a couple of items just wanted to mention. We're working on plans to participate in the state's winter weather exercise that will be held in November. We're also working with the City of Prattville on their National Night Out program over at Target. It'll be October the 4th, 6 to 8. And we're also really busy right now with a couple of different grant application programs. One of them is our hazard mitigation grant program. We're working on those. And then also we got a new process this year with our it's the State Homeland Security Grant Program. We're working with all of our stakeholder partners that are interested in completing those applications. We're working with them to identify the priorities and then also reviewing their applications, making sure for completeness and thoroughness there. So we've just got a busy period with those grant application periods right now. And of course, we're continuing to work on some plan updates along as well. Y'all have any questions of me?
Any questions or comments for the EMA Director? Thank you. County Attorney report, Mr. Butler, do you have anything tonight?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Franklin's already discussed the Quality Correctional Health Care contract renewal, and we'll be getting the new version over to Grace to forward on, next day or so.
Please, they asked about that, and I told them I'd get in touch with them. One thing I did not mention, and I won't be honest with you, Major Amerson with our department did the rough draft on these contracts. I really appreciate the time and effort you put into finalizing that and putting it together. I know that was a painstaking process. You did a good job, and I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Welder. Do we have any kind of update on the charter franchise agreement? I know that was discussed a few meetings ago, and it's kind of
we're having a hard time getting them to return our phone calls and our emails, and I'm not sure what's going on, but we've called them as recently as twice last week, sent more emails, to their representative, and have not heard anything back from them. I can only conclude that they don't see it to their advantage to renegotiate the current, contract,
Well,
so.
we'll just let them come to term and then deal with it. All right. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Weller? Important calendar dates, Ms. Erb, would you read those, please?
Saturday, October 8th is the next countywide cleanup at just the Central Elmer Water and Sewer and Hopeville locations from 9 till 1 until the trucks are full. Monday, October 10th, the courthouse will be closed in observance of Columbus Day, and Tuesday, October 11th will be the next commission meeting at 5 with the business meeting following.
Thank you, Ms. Erb. Reports to the commission. Commissioner Taylor, do you have anything tonight?
I do not have any, thank you.
Commissioner Falk, do you have a comment?
I also would like to compliment the work that, Ms. McDuffie and her office has done in putting together the budget. I also like to compliment our department heads and elected officials. The sheriff is here tonight, and I appreciate, being 16 years on the commission, how he's been willing to take what little he gets and is able to stretch it into what he stretches it into. I don't know how he does that. I almost laughed out loud when I was riding down the road and they were talking about personnel problems and not having enough people in Montgomery County, and they have like 147 deputies, and they don't cover near the area that our few deputies do here. And I want to compliment him on that. Also, it's important, I think, at budget time that we stress that for a population of almost 85,000 people in Elmore County, they're being served with $11 million general fund budget. Those dollars are unheard of. Other counties our size has general funds of 3 times that. And if you don't believe it, call it up and ask them. And it only speaks to the value that we have in our employees and our staffs, that they're taught and they learn how to operate as government should operate. And that's take the dollars that are there and make them work. And at some point, that dime that we're stretching out to $1 is not going to work anymore. At some point, we're going to need 2 dimes to stretch out to $1 or $1.50. And those kind of things are things that we need to talk about. And important things that we need to talk about so that we can continue the services that we do. And yeah, you know, I can be accused of breaking my arm to pat this commission on our backs, but it's the truth. And the truth is, without the department heads that we have and the elected officials we have working together with budget restraints, the people of this county would not be served to the capacity that they are. And so I think everyone associated deserves a big pat on the back if it has to come from me. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Smoke, do you have anything?
I too would also like to thank our department heads. Grace, we appreciate all that you do and working so hard and diligent on this budget. And I want to say congratulations to you, Mr. Chairman, on becoming a grandpa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. If anybody wants to see pictures, I got them right here. So just come on up afterwards. It's, I've been called a lot of things in my life, and some I can't repeat. But being called a grandpa is really special. I'm in the club now. I do also want to thank all our department heads and elected officials. I echo what Commissioner Falk says, and maybe the state legislature and the Senate need to come to Elmore County and see how to efficiently run government. And maybe they could take that back. And of course, I know that they deal with a lot different things than we do. But I tell you this: the problem is, and I wish Senator Chambliss was still here, but at some point there's going to be a critical, and it's going to happen on the local level too. There's going to be a critical point to where we're going to have to pick between essential services and other things. And as far as me as a citizen and a taxpayer, I'm not talking as a county commissioner, I'm talking as a taxpayer and a citizen. Having adequate law enforcement on the road, having adequate jails to put the criminals in so they're not walking around, are essential services for the state. And I heard a statistic, I don't know where I heard it from, it was last week. The state of Alabama has 200 state troopers on the road for a whole state. The city of Montgomery has twice as many police officers as the state has patrolling. And that's just ridiculous. I mean, people are gonna have to start making some hard choices. And they're not gonna be politically, popular choices. But at some point, people are gonna have to start making hard choices, not only at the state level, but at the local level too. And I do commend Sheriff Franklin for the efforts that his deputies and his staff do to keep us safe here in Elmore County. And, I think it's just a miracle with the limited resources that you have that, we have as safe of a county to live in, and I do thank you for that. And with that, I will adjourn the work session. I'll get the agenda ready. I'll be back in a minute. Let's come to order. I want to ask Eric Jones to lead us in our invocation and Commissioner Fault to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear God, we come to you today, and dear God, I just thank you for the people represented here tonight, dear God, that have carried out the business of the county. Just thank you for the peaceful environment that we're allowed to do this in, dear Lord. We just thank you for the wonderful county we're able to live in and call home. And dear God, most of all, I just thank you for the people that make up our county, dear God. We have some just absolutely tremendous people in our county that have been friends, family members, co-workers, dear God, just that have just molded us and made us who we are, dear God, through the experiences they've shared with us, dear God. And tonight I'd just like to lift the Sanford family up to you, dear Lord. They've lost the patriarch of their family, dear God, that was a grandfather and a true friend to so many, dear God, that touched so many lives, and he just was full of the Holy Spirit, and he just touched so many people for you, dear God. I just lift Mr. Tom and his family up to you, dear God, more than anything. Dear God, again, just we want to remember our soldiers overseas that are continuing to fight for the freedoms that, dear Lord, we get to, as a nation, exemplify across the globe, dear God. And I pray for those that are in harm's way, dear Lord, wherever they are, you know. And dear God, we just pray for a protective hedge to be put around them. And dear God, just thank you for loving us. Thank you for being who you are to us each and every day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let's stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Taylor?
Present.
Commissioner Fault?
Here.
Chairman Bowen?
Here.
Commissioner Rachel? Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Present.
Move we approve the minutes September 12th.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Move we approve the memorandum of warrants periods September 3rd through September 21st.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Under old business, a motion to approve or deny FY17 E911 dispatch agreement and authorize chairman to execute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel
Yes.
Smith?
Motion to approve non-dispatch service agreement with the city of Wetumpka and authorize chairman to execute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel
Yes.
Smith?
Motion to approve or deny dispatch service agreement with the town of Eclectic and authorize chairman to execute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Motion to approve quality corrections healthcare contract renewal for a term of 4 years and authorize chairman to execute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Motion to approve FY17 budget as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Under new business, a motion to approve a letter of continuous support for Sandtown Schools.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Smith?
Yes.
Motion to approve FY16 budget amendment for principal interest on the 2015 bond issue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Fault?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel
Yes.
Smith?
Motion to approve FY 17 detention contract with Department of Youth Services, DYS, for 1 detention bed.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
Motion to approve FY 17 long-term detention subsidy contract with Montgomery County for 2 detention beds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
Motion to approve FY 17 diversion grant contract with Department of Youth Services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels? No.
Yes.
Motion to approve FY 17 holiday schedule through November 15,
So moved.
2016.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
No.
Motion to approve FY 17 meeting dates through October 16.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels? No.
Yes.
Motion to approve modified service contract with Johnson Controls to include the EOC with the jail judicial complex HVAC system servicing.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner
Y-
Daniels? No.
yes.
Motion to approve FY 16 EMPG cooperative grant agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels? No.
Yes.
Motion to approve FY 16 additional EMPG funding for certified local emergency manager certification cooperative grant agreement.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
May we approve the consent docket?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels? No.
Yes.
Ms. McDuffie, do you have anything further?
No, Chairman, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Byerty, Mr. Barwell, Mr. Jones,
No, sir, I do not.
Mr. Weller,
Yes, sir, I do not.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Falk?
Yes.
Chairman Bowen?
Yes,
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
we're adjourned.